to break
He's
it,
walking
but
away
it's
from the
broken now.
computer.
You spell something on it?
What I figured out is that there are modern ways to kind of like research who this killer might have been, and we know a lot about the area now. Even though it has been drastically kind of renovated, there are different streets that existed that don't anymore, buildings that don't anymore, etc. And actually, a article from the Texas State University has a fantastic bit about their Center for Geospatial Intelligence and Investigation, where they actually researched the Jack the Ripper killings and kind of tried to triangulate where in the city he might have come from, and based on that, during the time, what he might have been.
Like walking distance and things like that,
Correct.
like human metrics.
Fascinating.
Have you guys ever actually looked at the evidence?
I have not.
Oh, there's that sound again.
Whoa.
What kind
Don't
of evidence?
reference the sound, Mr. Bean.
Oh, it's
Mr.
Bean is
Bean.
hilarious. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm not as good as him. He's funny. So.
Oh, so
He
he
is
knows
so
who Mr.
good.
Bean is,
All right.
but does not know
Everyone
what
knows who
computers.
Mr. Bean is.
All
He's
right.
all the memes. He's all the bean memes.
See, we're starting to triangulate
Bean
now
memes.
where maybe this man comes from Shrewsbury, England, allegedly.
I
but
came from Shrewsbury. I
knows
told you
Mr.
all.
Bean doesn't know computers, though, so we've got like a
I'm just not good at them. I don't know computers. I know what a computer is.
pronounced it
All right,
correctly.
Mr.
He's
Bean.
been in
Boomer.
the Bean for a
Thanks
while,
for the
right?
info.
Okay,
Pascal
Boomer.
Thanks for the info.
I actually like this bit about they kind of like set the scene for the Whitechapel area during this time, and I'm quoting again from the Texas State University Center for Geospatial Intelligence and Investigation, Jack the Ripper. So you can look that up. But it's this guy says many of the rookeries, and rookeries being kind of like the the dens of
Dens of
what you would
iniquity.
call like the
Dens of iniquity.
Like a thieves' landing
yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like where the slums essentially. So many of the rookeries in Victoria and
Come on into
London.
my rookery.
Chill.
It's like a
Should we
fly-by-night.
refill the bean?
A fly-by-night.
No, I'm good.
All right, settle down. We're in story time. You'll have your chance. You'll have your say. Many of the rookeries in Victoria and London were demolished during a series of social reforms, but the slums of Whitechapel and Spitalfields survived and predictably endured an influx of criminals displaced by the city's urban renewal program. The late 1800s saw almost 1 million people dwelling in the slums east of Aldgate Pump. 4,000 houses in Whitechapel alone in one year were condemned as uninhabitable.
Ooh.
And nothing was done about it for years after.
I wonder if Spitalfield refers to the old Caribbean or pirate spit of land, like a Spitalfield. If
The
there's
little tiny field.
if
How
there's
far you
like
could spit?
two cities next to each other and there's like one just swath of land, it's like a Spitalfield.
Yeah. Interesting
That's like
way of
us.
thinking about it.
It's
Sure.
an amazing
Yeah.
inference right there.
That's
like
for
a
us.
like a
Yes.
popka.
Land of the big potato.
Yep.
Spittle of a popka.
You know, I don't know. I wonder though. Like if it's just like, that's land that we're not going to use, whatever.
Liquid sewage filled the cellars of houses, and people kept their windows, those not yet broken, shut because of the stench from without. The majority of families, often up to 9 people, lived in one room. Incest was common in these crowded conditions, even amongst children as young as 10.
Whoa!
What?
Many East End youth
There was no
died-
Netflix.
Many East End youth died before they were 5. It would not be unusual for mothers to send their children into the streets until after midnight while she engaged in the business of prostitution, sufficient enough for money to feed them. Often children fell in the streets due to exhaustion or cried out in pain from chronic starvation.
Damn.
Hey, this is really rough.
Right? So you're trying to paint basically the picture of like where this was happening, and it was a
Bleak.
rough place. Correct.
Bleak is the words that come to mind. Bleak.
The killings took place. There were 5 canonical killings, but up to as many as 11 or possibly even more, according to what article you're looking at. But they varied in the horrific butchering. But in 1988. Actually, the FBI started to put together a criminal personality profile for the Jack the Ripper murders.
1988?
1988. So relatively modern, right? Considering, I guess that was actually what?
That was extremely modern considering the last murder was 1888.
Right.
100 years later.
Yeah. Jeez, and they still haven't figured it out. It's incredible.
So after an analysis of the crime scenes, the police and autopsy reports, photographs, victimology, the area demographics. Victimology. The following key crime scene elements were identified: blitz attacks and lust murders. High degree of psychopathology exhibited at the crime scenes. No evidence of sexual assault. Possible manual strangulation. You say definitely, but possible. Post-mortem mutilation and organ removal, but no torture. Elaboration of ritual. Victims selected on basis of accessibility. All the crimes took place on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And in
Who's got time during the week?
No, exactly. There's not enough time during the day.
Gotta feed the family.
Opportunistic, high-volume crime area.
Oh, yeah.
In the early morning hours, and unreported attacks may have occurred. So they're saying, again, these might be the ones that are attributed to him.
So these are, again, the 5 of the 11. They all kind of make sense. Yeah.
Correct. In addition to those, they were able to put together the profile of what they assume might be some traits of the actual Jack the Ripper, based, again, on the geospatiality of the different events and what was going on in the area. They assume he was a white male, 28 to 36 years of age, obviously, was of average intelligence, single, never married, and had difficulty interacting with people, in particular women, was nocturnal and not accountable to anyone. I don't know why that would be in there.
Like a loafer, like someone who's a loner.
Okay. Blended in with his surroundings.
Like a loner.
Had poor personal hygiene and appeared disheveled.
Yep.
Loner.
Was personally inadequate with low self-image and diminished emotional responses.
That's
was a
amazing.
quiet loner, withdrawn and asocial.
Loner.
Lower social class.
Yeah.
Lived or worked in Whitechapel and committed the crimes close to his home.
That's a loner.
Had a menial job with little to no interaction with the public. Was employed Monday through Friday, possibly as a butcher, mortician's helper, medical examiner's assistant, or hospital attendant. The proximity of the London hospital was noted in the profile.
So that's from 1988?
Correct. This is them putting together like a possible profile on who this person would have been based on the area.
And Mandetti, the original 5 victims were who again?
Marianne Nichols, Ann Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly.
The geographic concentration, again quoting from the Texas State article, geographic concentration of the Ripper crimes was in interest to the researchers because they were all within a mile of each other. And the total hunting area was just over half a square mile in size.
Hunting area, wow.
So they produced the above mentioned profile on him based on the geography of the dumping sites, where the bodies were found, where these women lived prior to this, and kind of the area that this person might have grown up or been around in. And it seems like it's between the Flower, Dean, and Thrall Street areas of Whitechapel.
Thrall. Meet me on Thrall Street.
But
Not to
according
make
to this
light of it, but that's badass.
According to this article, the area is known as a vice-ridden neighborhood. East End social reformers refer to as the Wicked Quarter Mile.
The Wicked Quarter Mile.
And it seems like that was one of his. That was basically the main area that he kind of haunted. There was an interesting, and I'll see if it shows up in here.
So
Here we
I
go.
wonder if it was the Wicked Quarter Mile because of people like him, or because of people who could just kind of infiltrate the area
Well, again, I think
and
there
just
was-
kind of seduce the locals. And
There's
just,
a lot of dark
there
areas.
was rampant kind of violence and crime in the area, but these were the ones that were coming out as particularly brutal and, horrific because of the fact that they were being so publicly kind of there were disappearances a lot. That's what they were saying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, it was a shady kind of part of town.
I wonder if the mentality of the Jack the Ripper murder, though, was hey, I'm going to take care of you guys, you take care of me, or if it was just someone who literally didn't show his face around that part until it was time to
I did
kill.
read that someone
Drop in, drop out.
Yeah.
actually a group of these people, I don't know if it's commonly referred to as, but ripperologists. One of the,
Wow.
I would imagine, yeah.
one of these
Degree in
guys,
ripperology.
one of these guys suggested that maybe that this was a person's attempt to draw attention to the fact that this was a horrifying slummy part of the area, part of town, and that it needed to be policed more heavily or something like that. Obviously,
Get it in the news.
right? Like an anti-Batman kind of thing.
Like a false flag.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, there you go.
But it being a real flag. Being a
So
dead prostitute.
interesting that you would. Interesting. Jesus Christ.
What did I say?
They were
God,
able to
you
find.
really made it real.
Actually, Eddowes. Since you bring it up, part of Catherine Eddowes' bloodstained apron was cut away by her killer, and the missing segment was actually later found in a passageway in a staircase to the Wentworth model dwellings on Goulston Street. Yeah, I'm not sure where that is. Obviously, it's in London somewhere. Located just south of Wentworth Street. Oh, there you go.
Thanks, Google Maps.
Which is about a third of a mile, 10-minute walk from Mitre Square, where Eddowes was murdered. It appeared that the bloodied apron piece had been used to wipe clean a knife, and the following graffito was written in chalk above the black brick wall. You ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is some mad Lewis Carroll ass shit.
That's why Lewis Carroll was suspected.
The Jews are not men that will be blamed for nothing.
Wow.
And apparently, the investigator, well, another thing I read, it's not in this article, but the lead investigator at the time actually had them like scrub that off the wall. Like it was part of this, that people like thought it was evidence, and he thought, oh no, it's just graffiti or whatever, just scrub it off the wall. But it's become this like thing that people reference that maybe he was somebody who had an agenda against Jewish people, or there was some kind of connection in that. But the Jews is spelled capital J, U-W-E-S.
Jews.
Jewish.
Jews.
Jews.
The Jews. It's because of the Jews.
Jews are not men.
So
Jews.
from Whitechapel to Goulston Street, Goulston, right?
G-H.
Like
No, yeah, you're right.
Goulston.
G-O-U-L-S-T-O-N. Street.
So from Whitechapel to Goulston Street, it is a 10-minute walk.
You're actually using Google Maps. That's
Yep.
amazing.
And that's what it says on here too.
Nice.
It's about a 10-minute walk.
That's
It's
awesome.
it's a 0.5 mile walk, so that is very close by. So that was found where? Leading into what building?
The Wentworth Model Dwellings.
Ooh.
I'm not sure if that still exists or not, but that's apparently somewhere where people were staying at the time. But yeah, there was some evidence of a bloody apron and then some strange graffito on the wall. And
About the Jews.
About the Jew. Well, yeah, J-U-W-E-S. That might be a new thing that we don't know. Like people said the Jews, but like you don't know. It could be maybe he knew about some new kind of, I don't know,
Something else
thing.
going on.
Yeah, maybe there's like a new thing going on.
Maybe he was trying to spell Jules, like Julie, and he was like, I don't know. Is that a double U? I don't know. I gotta run.
Nothing's worse than being racist and illiterate.
And there's like, bye,
Bye.
bye.
So based on this, we can